Is the Patriot Act unpatriotic? David.
The question isn't, is it unpatriotic? That's completely open to interpretation anyway. And really, who gives a shit about what some lame country and western singer thinks? No. The question is whether it's unconstitutional, and the answer is yes.
Sunda.
The Patriot Act is definitely patriotic. It's fine. It's not going to affect, me or any of us unless your name is Ahmed, and if it is, you're probably up to something.
Greg.
I have a big problem with the surveillance provisions of the Patriot Act because it says very clearly right in the Constitution, if you want to go to your mosque to help plot the murder of thousands of civilians, you shouldn't have to whisper.
Jim.
I think the term unconstitutional is overused. If the U.S. Constitution is ever legitimately used to shield somebody involved in terrorism, then we should take it out of the Smithsonian and use it when we run out of toilet paper.
You're as fresh as paint. Dave, what do you think? How much freedom are you willing to give up for this?
Well,
any or none?
Okay, let me say this. I mean, let's keep the focus on what's truly important here, and that is if this disallows me to access internet porn, then seriously, you can lock up as many innocent Muslim Americans as you want. All right? I mean, really, who cares about them except a handful of uppity Jews? Really? But okay, when you come after an innocent white man's internet porn, then you're coming after Lady Liberty herself.
But that is
I agree with the ACLU. I think they really have their finger on the pulse of the nation. I mean, because when a bunch of savages fly a plane into your office building, the most important thing is that the charities and individuals that funded the attack are protected. I mean, that really is.
I think you're being sarcastic.
No. All right.
You know what? I was pretty worried about the Patriot Act too, and I thought, man, I don't want the government looking into my computer and my medical records and my library records, and then I realized, right, I'm not plotting a terrorist attack against the United States. This should probably work out fine for me.
Yeah, but it's about abuse. It's about abusing it, and you mentioned slippery slope, and they've already tried to do a Patriot Act 2 or Patriot Act, whatever the sequel was called, Goes West, or The Rise of the Machines, or whatever it was. But
Patriot Wedding.
Yeah. And that was a lot more extreme, and they would have gotten away with it if people hadn't, not simply the ACLU, but people hadn't gone wait, and then and people more than just the ACLU have been examining and against the Patriot Act. So,
but to me, the ACLU.
The grapes. Good?
The grapes are good.
Yeah.
I go for kind of a Roman emperor theme. A lot of people complained when I was eating the stupid cupcakes. But I just think that ultimately, the Patriot Act is so mild, from what I've read of it, it's the mildest thing in the world. All they want to do is be able to go online, not just people's email, all these little wiretapping things, and it's like, at some point you have to give allowance to the fact that a guy, because we didn't get into that guy's computer, that's not why 9/11 happened, but it certainly, was one of the things that could have been, maybe possibly done something to help it. There's a lot of inept, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Well, but that's not the only thing. The main change in the Patriot, and specifically this thing that we're talking about, that section 215, whatever, the main change is that you used to have to show, why would people laugh at that point?
Because
you actually knew section 215.
Yeah. I'm a genius, Jim.
The crowd's like, pull that section 215 on us, all right.
Well, you told me to mention it before. No. They're just, the main change there is that before you were able to do this kind of surveillance on somebody, you had to have probable cause that they were actually terrorists or engaged in terrorist activity. Probable cause. Now you just have to go to a judge and say you think that they're relevant to a terrorist investigation, which means pretty much anybody could have their record searched. So that's what some people are freaking out about.
Sure.
Yeah, and they should be.
But that's only if you take the point of view like, okay, the danger of the government, which is obviously, at least the police states, is worse than the danger of something that's actually happening. I mean, talk about a slippery slope. I could say, hey, since they blew up the World Trade Center, if we don't start changing things, the slippery slope is they'll blow up every building in the country. So, I mean, the slippery slope works two ways.
Colin, let me answer this by taking this pipe.
Okay.
I think this will help me get my point across. First of all, I forgot what my point is. I do enjoy the pipe.
It does look like it's a good point because of the pipe. But let me ask you this. Article 216, which is not section 2, Section 215 is for the kids. I go with 216.
That's from the New England Patriot Act, and that's much different.
Well,
but that's what you were talking about. That's a specific thing.
Yeah, no,
there's a lot of other provisions in the
but they're all pretty mild.
Things like that.
Relative to
you should really make that point clear because the Patriot Act is pretty expansive, and there's
it's expansive, but it's all child. I mean, the ACLU didn't complain about this whole expansive thing. There's one little thing is their only problem.
Plenty of people complained about.
But the ACLU did not. They had no.
Why are you solely focused on 20 Jews? You know.
Because to me, they represent a lot of the problem on the left, I think. Now, the ACLU, the problem with them is their inherent dishonesty. I don't think they're that afraid to Patriot Act.
Their inherent dishonesty?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Because what they're really afraid of is their growing irrelevance. The fact that the country has changed to a certain degree, and they won't acknowledge that.
They're more relevant now than they ever were.
When they were defending black voting rights and women's rights, they were relevant. But now that they're defending just child molesters and terrorists, they're not relevant
defending
anymore.
just child molesters and just terrorists.
No, they're also doing significant stuff. They're fighting to get midgets on police departments.
You're right.
And that's important. That's very important.
All right, folks, we'll be right back into this message. Oh.